And today we cool her down. So as I had said previously, I didn't think the head gasket was the reason for overheating on this. So I put a temp permit on it and took it for a drive, and lo and behold, the entire time I was out there for about 45 minutes, temperature stayed right where it should have. Right until I came and parked it in the driveway. So, bad fan clutch. So today we change it. So normally, a fan clutch is something that I'd recommend replacing with a brand new one. Just because they're only about $100, $150 Canadian. So you know, that's downright reasonable for those of you that actually have a dollar that's worth something. However, a friend of mine had a parts car and was nice enough to give me this one for the low price of free. So it's what I'll be using. However, having now pulled that one from the parts car, I know what I'm in for. And I'm not totally excited to do this again, but here we go. So step one is to remove the inner fan shroud. To do that, you can see here, it's labeled close, top, open. So what you gotta do is pop off the coolant hose. It's just a clip, pairing in those pliers, and it pops out the back like so. Get that out of the way. For now, something like that. Good enough. Then you turn it to open. It should separate from the housing. Now, we're going to see if I can remove the outer fan shroud away and then slide this one over and up and out. To remove the outer shroud, there's one spring clip here and one hidden right here under the top radiator hose. One. Two. Now the fan shroud is loose. Should, in theory, be able to remove it. We're just going to move this kind of out of the way here, which hopefully will give us enough room to slip this out. Let's see what it's got on. Okay, so it's catching on this upper hose here. A little bit of wiggling. There we go. Outer fan shroud. That wasn't too bad. So you don't actually have to remove this upper hose. Live and learn. And out comes the inner ring we removed earlier. And now you can see we've created some room to access the inner bolt, which is an 8mm hex. So we grab our 8mm hex and we'll see if it fits. Always check first. So these are full of dirt, which they often are. You'll never get it in, and you'll just end up stripping everything out. Mine actually feels pretty good. So now I'm betting there's not enough room to get my ratchet in there. That's deeply annoying. Some creativity may be in order. What do we come up with? So what we're going to try is we're going to put the Allen socket in, which protrudes out from the fan a bit. We're going to have a box end wrench on it and a piece of pipe for leverage. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try the cheap wrench first, just because I'd rather not break my good one. So, go ahead and insert the 8mm hex. Put that in there. Now there's a very good chance we're probably going to have to lock the pulley somehow. I'm hoping we don't, but we'll see. we'll have to lock the pulley. That's unfortunate. I was hoping we wouldn't have to do that. Yeah. Okay. How to lock the pulley. So to lock the pulley, you can buy pulley lock tools. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the belt off, and I'm going to put this strap wrench around the fan pulley, and that should do what we need to do here. So to loosen the belt on the M103, there are two things you need to do. First, you need to loosen the 19mm bolt on the tensioner assembly, which is obscured by the water pump pulley. However, it's right here, just underneath it. The big 19mm bolt is the only one in the area. You just want to loosen that off. Second, to back off the tension on the system, you loosen this 13mm adjuster bolt right here, and then the belt will slacken. So now the belt's loose, we're going to try and wind it off of the engine here. Noting the way that in which it is installed, as it will need to go back on the same way. In order to make life easier, I'm going to remove this idler pulley here. The end of it has a black plastic cap that just pops off, and then it's held on by what appears to be another hex or Allen head bolt. Let's just see what size it is. It is a 6mm. So hopefully that just comes off, and that'll give us a little better access to the belt. These idlers are also a common source of belt/bearing noise on these engines, and are a maintenance item. So if you have a whirring bearing sound from the front of your engine, it's very likely to be these in the belt tensioner that are causing it. There we go. One tensioner. Now hopefully we can loop the belt up a little easier. There we go. Yeah, that's definitely worth doing. Just like that. Now it's free of the fan pulley, and hopefully we can loop our tool around it. So we take our strap wrench, and we'll now attempt to loop it around the fan pulley. Which I'm sure will be a delightful experience. I will say this much: the newer V6 Mercedes engines are much easier to work on than these old straight sixes. Let's just see if we can get it in there. A longer, bigger strap wrench is recommended. Okay, so there's no really good way to film that, but it's on there. So let's now go for round 2 of popping out this fan clutch bolt. Go. That in. Our strap wrench is not tight enough. Get that tighter somehow. So I've tightened the strap wrench a bit. Try for a third time. Get the wrench on there. It doesn't really want to hold. Yeah, this cheap wrench is just spinning. Need a better wrench. Give this one a shot. That strap wrench is just not holding tight enough. Not get her a little bit tighter. Doesn't seem able to grab it hard enough. Doesn't want to break loose either. There we go. Hey! So finally, it broke loose. So now we should just be able to spin this out. Okay. Bolt is now removed. See there? The fan should just wiggle off the shaft. Like that. There's the old fan clutch. Probably, as far as I can tell, the original to the car. Just out of curiosity, we'll compare here. And it appears that the part numbers are identical on both of them. So that should be no issues. That is an interesting note here. If you are pulling a fan clutch off of a parts car or a junkyard car, they are the same between the M104 and M103 engines. So that doubles your chances of finding one. I think I'm going to take a wire brush this one quickly and just clean it up a bit if I can. So I just took a wire brush and cleaned the dirt off the front as well as the back where it seats up against the pulley. So now, since it was such a joy to take out, I'm sure it'll just be a wonderful experience putting it back in. So, goes back on. See which of my two bolts are the better ones. Definitely the one that came out of this car. So I've cleaned the bolt up with a wire brush, and we're going to put a little bit of Loctite on it, as this is one that you really don't want coming loose as you go down the highway. Oop. That's about 800 times more than you need. You really just need a dab will do you across the length of the threads. But it won't come loose that way. Now we'll just thread it back in. Use our socket here just to provide a handle. Thread it all the way in by hand. Just pop this cover up out of the way temporarily here. Now, I'm sure there's a Mercedes specified torque for this, but there's no way to get a torque wrench in there. So we're just going to get it as nice and snug as I possibly can. It does look like I will have to reverse my strap wrench. That is currently facing the wrong way. Just doesn't end. Turn it over. Nice if we get on the other side, but there's a coolant line in the way, and therefore zero chance of getting that where we need it to be. Okay, let's try and snug her up now. better. Still not as tight as I'd like. So we're just gonna put her back on here. We're gonna get the pipe on this, same way we did to loosen it off. Snug it down as far as we can go. We're going to call that good. It's something that I will check several times the next little while, at least once I get it back on the road. Make sure it hasn't backed off or loosened off. But it's seated on there. The Loctite will keep that from loosening off at all. And that should be good. So now we have the joy of putting the serpentine belt back on. So now that the belt is reinstalled and tensioned, before I put all the covers back on, I'm just going to quickly start the engine and make sure everything is okay before I put all the ancillary covers back on the radiator and everything. So we'll see how it goes. So, reverse of removal. First on goes the inner fan shroud. Just gonna give the fan a little wiggle here, make sure it's seated right and it's still happy. Feels okay. Inner fan shroud. Now we'll tuck in the outer fan shroud, which has these two tabs that seat into a pair of receivers in the bottom. So I'll tuck those down in as we get it around the upper hose here, which is the trickiest part of the entire operation. Also helps if you install it the correct way around. I do recommend installing it the correct way around. Go. The shroud flips back in. In goes the shroud. And our top hose, which also secures the two shrouds together. So, put it back in. There we go. That is how to replace the fan and fan clutch assembly on an M103 Mercedes engine.